lastly, Greta Thunberg was in front of Congress. They brought in some other kid to be the anti-Greta. And he was okay, just sort of defended, like, we don't want to ruin our way of life to protect our way of life.
The 15-year-old that is primarily concerned about the economy.
Right, exactly. I'm super worried about where the market's going to be in 25 years because So here is Garret Graves. He is a congressman from Louisiana. Think he gets a lot of oil money? I would bet. A lot of refineries down there. So here's Garret Graves trying to both be sort of like jocular. He realizes he's dealing with a teenage girl, young woman. So he doesn't want to look like too much of a jerk. But he also gets it handed to him on a platter, I should say. Or he is returned on a platter by Thunberg. Here he is, trying to make her understand, like, I have an analogy for you that she basically says, your analogy is wrong. Here's the right one.
Ms. Thunberg, let me ask you a question. If you're sailing across the ocean and you're picking up trash along the way, and for every one piece of trash that you pick up, there's a boat right next to you dumping out 5 pieces, how would that make you feel?
First of all, we were going so fast, there wasn't enough to pick up any trash.
All right, well, if you were a slow sailor like me, how would that make you feel?
Well, first of all, if you use that logic, then I am also dumping a lot of trash in the ocean. And then I would stop dumping my trash in the ocean and tell the other boat to stop dumping their trash in the ocean as well.
And that's the important point here. I think that what we need to be doing is we need to be focusing on the countries that are dumping trash in the ocean. Of course, that's a metaphor.
Right.
The fact that China
it's a metaphor. Pause it. I think she answered your metaphor, and she said, well, if your metaphor is to be accurate, we're both dumping trash in the ocean. There is no boat that is sailing across the ocean just picking up trash. There is no country in the world that has a net negative carbon footprint. And in fact, when we talk about our boat, in his metaphor, we're dumping trash too. China may be dumping more trash than we are. But as she says, I would stop dumping trash in the ocean, and then I would ask them to stop dumping trash too.
And then I would share anti-trash dumping technologies with the other boats.
Indeed. He goes on to, he just goes on to claim that it's basically all China's fault, and it doesn't do anything if we do anything. So about 5 or 6 minutes later, she addresses him again, not necessarily by name, but addresses this stupid analogy of his by saying, we have it? Addresses this stupid analogy, which is incorrect. And she immediately just picks it out like, oh, I see what your analogy is. That's very clever. Except for it does not correspond to the real world. There are no boats that are just picking up trash. There are boats that are dumping less trash and trying to dump less trash and should be dumping no trash. And then other boats to whom we should say, do the same as we're doing. So later in that same hearing, she gets a little bit more explicit because he makes it a little more tangible for Garret Graves.
Just look at the U.S., they say. So just so you know,
Oh,
that is being used against the U.S.
Go back. She's going to make the point here that, like, you can say that compared to China, the U.S. is not dumping a lot of trash in the ocean, as it were. But I got some bad news for you. There's other countries, not just the U.S.
I think I don't need to add anything, but just another perspective. I am from Sweden. It's a small country, and there it is the same argument. Why should we do anything? Just look at the US, they say. So just so you know, that is being used against you as well.
Yeah.
She's looking out for him.
Right. Why should we do anything? Because China's dumping more than us. And she says, well, I got news for you. In Sweden, we say the same thing. Why should we do anything? Because the U.S. is dumping more trash.
I've been exposed to this elementary argument before.
Yes. This is, I mean, it's fun to watch a 16-year-old run circles around these Congress people, because she just doesn't have the same sort of like notion of like, oh, am I supposed to be polite enough to not point out how stupid they are? It really is amazing. Meanwhile, let's just turn to 2020. We got a couple of clips. Here is, this was at the, Robert Kuttner brought up the point that there is a nascent movement among young